1. The disappearing hotel room. In 1979, a French woman named Genevieve was on vacation with her daughter in London. They stayed in a luxurious hotel, settling into their comfortable room after a long day of sightseeing. That night, they went to bed exhausted. However, when Genevieve awoke in the middle of the night, she noticed a strange man in the corner of the room, dressed in an old-fashioned suit with hollow eyes fixed on her. Too terrified to scream, she shut her eyes tightly, hoping he would disappear. When she opened them, he was gone. The next morning, Genevieve went downstairs to complain to the front desk about the terrifying intruder, but the receptionist's expression changed when she mentioned her room number. The receptionist claimed the hotel didn't have that room number at all. Confused, Genevieve demanded they check the register. But when they returned to the floor, the room where she had slept was locked and labeled as a storage closet. Later, upon questioning the staff, they discovered that many years ago, a man fitting her description had been staying in that room when he was found dead under mysterious circumstances. Ever since, guests reported seeing him before the hotel sealed off the room completely. Genevieve, convinced she had stayed there, had to leave the hotel and cut her trip short, unable to explain how she and her daughter had spent a night in a room that no longer existed. The Midnight Visitor. In 1994, a man named Thomas was on a business trip, staying at a budget hotel in rural Tennessee. Exhausted, he fell asleep quickly. At around 3 a.m., he was jolted awake by a loud banging on his door. When he checked the peephole, no one was there, yet the banging continued intermittently, growing louder each time. Convinced it was just a prank, he tried to ignore it, but the knocks became a rhythmic tapping that felt unnatural, almost like a heartbeat. Finally, annoyed and unsettled, he decided to open the door to confront the prankster, but no one was in the hall. Frustrated, Thomas returned to bed. However, the moment he lay back down, he heard a faint voice outside whispering his name. It sounded familiar, almost like his mother's voice, though she had passed away years earlier. Scared, he got up to check once more, but still found the hallway empty. By morning, Thomas was exhausted. As he was checking out, he mentioned the strange experience to the clerk, who looked alarmed. She hesitantly told him that several guests had experienced similar events in that room, particularly those who'd lost close family members. Some said they heard their loved ones calling out to them, urging them to leave the hotel. Thomas never returned to that hotel, haunted by the memory of his mother's voice echoing in the empty hallway. The dark figure in the woods. In 2003, Sarah, a teenager from Oregon, went camping with a group of friends in a remote area. They spent the night telling ghost stories and roasting marshmallows by the fire. As the night wore on, they began hearing strange noises from the woods, snapping twigs, rustling leaves, and faint, unintelligible whispers that seemed to echo from the darkness. Sarah's friend, Jake, dismissed it as animals and suggested they ignore it. However, Sarah kept feeling an unsettling presence lurking just beyond the firelight. When she shone her flashlight into the trees, she saw a tall, shadowy figure standing just at the edge of the forest, partially obscured by branches. She blinked, and it was gone. Terrified, she told the others, but no one else had seen it. Later, when they all went to bed, Sarah found it hard to sleep, haunted by the image of the figure. Around midnight, she woke to hear someone, or something, moving outside her tent. Through the thin fabric, she saw the unmistakable silhouette of the same figure. It was taller than she remembered, with elongated limbs and a head that seemed almost unnaturally narrow. The figure stood there, perfectly still, for what felt like hours, though it was likely only minutes. Just as she gathered the courage to shout for help, it turned slowly and walked back into the woods, disappearing into the blackness. The next morning, when she told her friends, they thought she had been dreaming, but near her tent, they found large footprints in the dirt, far too large to belong to any of her friends. Sarah never went camping again, haunted by the thought of the tall, shadowy figure watching her from the woods, waiting just beyond the firelight.